But Rich Miles alongside him on the front of the grid will be determined to stop him, I'm sure, as the race gets underway for 20 minutes. And it's a pretty even start between the two front row drivers. A good start by Daniel Lana as well from the outside of the second row of the grid. There's Jonathan McGill and Colin Spicer, two of the Sporting Cup combatants, in close proximity as well. But it is Ryan Yarrow that has the lead, then Rich Miles second, and Michael Roots has slotted into third then as they head through Cascades for the first time.
Yeah, so that got pretty tight because the front row men didn't really make as good starts as those behind, so it got very close, but they got away with it. Ryan Yarrow then ahead of Miles, who's trying to grab third place in the championship here. And then in third place is Michael Roots, the earlier winner, then Dan Lana, then Colin Chapman, then James Walker. Victor Newman and Matt Thomas were very close to one another. They're side by side, and Cole Austin near the back, the driver trying to win the Sportsman's Cup title.
Yeah, so big clouds of dust being kicked up by the cars as they head through the area where the fluid was put down in the earlier race. You can see exactly where that car pulled off, but it is...
Lana's off.
Lana is indeed off, and we'll see where he comes back on, but it's... yeah, there he is. He's
he was anyway.
Where he was in fourth position. So it's Yarrow leading, Miles in second, Roots in third, Lana in fourth, so we've got the Mattel's third and fourth. Then a gap back to fifth position, and that is where we find the car of number 63, Colin Chapman.
Yeah, so all of our Sportsman's Cup drivers, they're right near the back, aren't they, battling for that title. There's Colin Spicer, there's Jonathan McGill, and there's Cole Austin.
And Cole Austin's got most to do then, hasn't he, you would think, from that position.
Yeah, so plenty of interest as Victor Newman tries to gain positions. Couldn't quite do it. He was trying to get the better of James Walker, but that didn't happen for him as the leaders last across the line, with Ryan Yarrow leading the way after one lap of ahead of 20 minutes of competition, which will be something like 12 laps going off the earlier race. And down through Denton's goes the battle for just behind the leaders that turn their way through. That would have been the battle of a fifth, wouldn't it? We were looking at a moment ago, but it is Yarrow then that leads down to Highland Bend, trying to get away from Rich Miles, who's there in second place. The top four just broke away a little bit here, Ian.
Yes, they have indeed, from Colin Chapman in fifth position, which is possibly not too surprising. James Walker there in sixth, Victor Newman seventh, Matt Thomas in eighth, and there's another gap back to the next group of cars, which is headed by Ian Hutchinson, I think, in ninth position.
Rich Miles is spectacular over the curve into Britons.
Often a good driver to watch. Down towards the right-hander at Hislops they go again. Dan Lana just not quite able to keep pace with the first three as things stand. So it's Yarrow number one that leads the way. He was sort of keen when he could afford to go racing that this is what he would go racing in, and he has no particular aspirations to go anywhere else now. He's wrapped up his second championship in 2 years after only about, I think, 3 or 4 years of racing in the category. Does a lot of the work himself as well, so a real proper clubman effort from Ryan Yarrow, and it's been rewarded with 2 championships in a row now. There's Richard Miles in second, and then Michael Roots in third in one of the Mattel chassis.
In the background, Victor Newman has got past James Walker. It's taken him all up to do it, but he made the move into Lodge, so he's up to sixth. In
one of the other Mattel chassis, and Mattel getting ever busier, speaking to Scott and Ian Mattel earlier on. Scott will be out getting for the Bike Sports Championship next weekend, and also Dan Gore hoping to win the F1000 Championship for the team at Snetterton next weekend, which of course you can watch on the Alpha live stream. Back here today though, Josh.
Fastest lap for Roots in third in the Mattel, 1:47.7, 3 seconds slower than the earlier race, perhaps due to that cement dust down.
Well, and there's been dampness in the air. We've seen some cars with wipes on. Squirrel at Druids, proper Whittle circuit this.
Colin Chapman under pressure for fifth. Victor Newman trying to go around the outside. These two battling in the championship as well, of course. With Chapman a few points adrift as they come down into Britain's then on lap 3 of this race. Newman not finding it easy, is he, to progress through the order. And up front, the top 3 pretty close together. Yarrow, Miles, Roots as they turn their way through The three of them with quite a bit of different background, really, haven't they? Rich Miles done some slim car racing.
Yep.
Mike Roots did a bit of low cost and some karting.
Yeah, and Yarrow hadn't really done a lot for quite some time before he got into the Sports 1000 a few years ago. Just waited until he'd accumulated the funds to be able to afford to do it, because even at a relatively humble level like this, club racing is not something that you can do particularly cheaply, but the 750 Most Club and Sports 1000 in particular do target the very affordable and relatively low-cost end of the market.
Here's some of our Sportsman Cup drivers. Jonathan McGill in there, but it's Colin Spicer that's leading the group, isn't it, who are battling for the championship, but he's the one that's furthest behind in the championship. So this, I think the championship battle is going to get very close in that Sportsman Cup, which is for drivers that haven't finished on the podium, isn't it, over the course of the season. Hopefully
you'll be able to get your spreadsheet completed. You seem to be taking over that mantle today, which is very good of you. There's the 69 car, Vincent Dubois. He's in 14th position, but you can see he's got 5 cars in pretty close proximity ahead of him, so he's not too far off the pace by any stretch of the imagination.
McGill passes Hutchins, which puts him within a place of Spicer, which he needs to be.
Yeah, and that's 11th place now, but yes.
Actually, I reckon if it finished as it were, they'd all finish on equal points, Austin, McGill and Spicer. So Spicer needs to get past Phil Hutchins here.
Well, we're not going to have a situation, I don't think, where one of them finishes on the podium, sort of exits the championship battle that way. As look at this now for the lead. It's much closer all of a sudden. Rich Miles and Ryan Yarrow and Michael Roots there as well, down at Hislop Chicane. Practically, you could throw a handkerchief over them, I think, as things stand, if you've got a good aim. Up towards Druids they go once again. Squirreled off to the left-hand side of the circuit, but no concern to Miles, who's really pushing Ryan Yarrow very hard here, the champion for this season. I mean, these 3 drivers have been the drivers to beat this year. I think that's fair to say. They've done most of the race winning between them.
All of the race winning, have they not?
I think they probably have, yes. I hadn't got my piece of paper in front of me, but certainly these have been the men to beat this year. Of course, Ryan Yarrow last year was pushed very hard by Richard Morris, who's gone on to race Pragas in Brick Car this year. But you can see how they're getting away now from Daniel Lana, more than 5 seconds ahead of Lana now in 4th position, who in that Oulton Metal just not able to stay with these cars, I don't think.
So the top 3 head down towards Island. Newman's 5th now, isn't he? And going after Lana. So that's going to be interesting to see what kind of pace he can get into that car. And Miles to the inside of Yarrow, there isn't room though. And Reitz just dropped away a little bit, but not too far, half a second or so perhaps. And they'll go off down towards Britain's. There's Lana, and there's the chasing Victor Newman, who's been quick, hasn't won a race this season.
No, it's at times you've thought that possibly he would do, and he's had close opportunities. Anglesey, he went well, I seem to remember.
Phil Hutchins has pitted, which gives Cole Austin the advantage in the Sportsman's Cup Championship battle.
Yeah, out of the race, judging from the signal of the marshal there as well, so he's going to be not going back out into the race either.
Of course, he had those problems earlier that caused the problems, and Ian Hutchins is going off. He was having problems on his better races, wasn't he, up in 9th place, but that's gone a bit pear-shaped.
Yeah, no, yes, he has managed to sort of try and resume the circuit there. Ian Hutchinson was in 9th position, but we're falling back behind those cars now. So Phil Hutchins, though, out of the race. I think he's going to be switching to a different car for next season, from what I understand, from speaking to Scott Mattel earlier.
Did I see Paul Rogers has got a car for next year?
Yeah, I think it's looking promising that we should see some good numbers. A few people coming back out for next season and new drivers onto the grid from what I understand. So I look forward to the 2022 Sports 1000 season. I mean, the numbers have been good earlier on in the season. Not quite so many here at Oulton Park this weekend, but we have had 20 cars on occasion this year.
Some close racing this season as well. The Snetterton races were particularly close. Again here, it's not very much separating the top 3, just 0.8 of a second.
Well, no, after already 9.5 minutes of racing, so really, really close stuff. And it's Yarrow that's won the championship, but I think it could just as easily on pace have been the likes of Roots or Miles this season, or Newman for that matter, could have been right up there, had looked on his way a little more, I think.
Cole Austin's fallen behind Vincent Dubois, so that means the three Sportsman Cup drivers are on the same points again.
Yeah, that spreadsheet of yours will be emitting smoke and flames if it keeps changing at this rate.
Here are the top three, very close. Lap 6, Miles tries to take a more swooping line through the chicane. But they kind of get stuck at Knickerbrook, doesn't it? It's not a place to pass, particularly in these cars. But he's got a good exit, so he's going to be alongside Yarrow. Oh, not quite. Yarrow managed to cover him off, but that was close as they went up the hill. And is that giving Roots a good run into Druids? Again, it's not really a place to pass. So Ryan Yarrow, who did do the fastest lap on the last lap, but the two behind, if anything, look a bit quicker. Half the race still to go.
Indeed, it's become a bit of a by-mark category between the Spires and the Mattels, but that's not to say that there's not other chassis available that you can race and develop yourself and hope to be competitive in the Rymax Lubricants Sports 1000 Championship. All of the cars on the grid today are rear-engined, but you can have a front-engine configuration, and it used to be a separate class for that, but now everyone goes into the same class structure. We're going to get a change here, I think. Michael Roots alongside down through Denton's and towards Cascades. In the end, he couldn't convert it and couldn't get ahead of Rich Miles and up into second position. So Miles it is that holds on to P2, and that's given Yarrow a bit of breathing space now, Josh. Yeah,
it was sideways out of Old Hall for Miles that caused all of that. 4-4, Victor Newman is ahead of Dan Lana. He's 7.5 seconds behind the leaders, so let's see if he can catch at all.
Out of our window, Colin Spicer and Jonathan McGill were sort of nose to tail going into...
McGill's gone off, so that's not going to help his case, is it?
And also Matt Thomas now has got a 5-second penalty. I don't think that's going to come into the equation because he's more than 20 seconds clear of anybody else in this race as things stand.
He's right behind the other two, though, so if he gains position on the track, it might not stand in the results.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to impact the Sporting Cup battle, was the point. As Yarrow and Miles head through Knickerbrook up Clay Hill with 8 minutes of the race left to go. They're working lap 7 at the moment, so probably 5 more laps to go at the end of this one. There is the 5 car.
Oh, Miles is off.
Oh, he is off. Oh. And he's lost some bodywork. And yes, the car's going backwards and is now stationary broadside across the track. So hopefully other drivers will see him and be able to avoid him. Yes, that was off. That obviously dislodged the bodywork as the car spun around. And I imagine the car has stalled. So now only half of the track width under the Warwick Bridge is available. 7 minutes of the race left to go in this Rymax Lubricants Sports 1000 Championship. So it's Ryan Yarrow leading now by 1.29 seconds as the red lights go on and the race being stopped. So the race being stopped here with the Rich Miles car broadside across the track at a place that's not particularly accessible for the marshals to get at it. Now, it only got 7 minutes of the race left to go.
And I think if we're going against light today, that'll be the end of that race, won't it?
Yeah, so I'll keep an eye out to see if we see a checkered flag as well to confirm that. We'll see where the cars are directed as well, whether they are directed into Parc Fermé or into or left to wait on the grid. We'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen here, but only 7 minutes to go. Rich Miles out of the car, he's all right. I don't think he hit anything. It was just the undulations on the ground that dislodged the bodywork and ultimately causing damage to the car, which ended up broadside across the track, more or less under the Warwick Bridge. And the drivers are being... Well, they're having many yellow flags waved at them, I can see, and they are at the moment stopping on the grid, but that's not to say that we will get a restart, but we will just have to wait and see. I mean, actually, that Miles car shouldn't take too long to recover. The time-consuming bit here would be to get the new grid out and the race being restarted.
So, assuming red flag doesn't bring the results back too much, I think Austin, McGill and Spicer will all finish on 181 points.
So you've fed that into the spreadsheet now.
I'm quietly confident that I'll put everything in correctly.
Drivers are now being shown, yes, checker flags waving, and drivers being shown into Parc Ferme. So that race coming to a premature end, I'm afraid.
And I guess with Miles off and out, Victor Newman will get third in the championship, therefore, as well, in the other battle.
Yes, because whatever happens, Rich Miles won't be classified in the results, will he? Because he was the driver that caused the red flag. And
so Colin Spice
wasn't winning at the time of it.
Colin Spice has had a 5th. Jonathan McGill's had a 5th. Cole Austin, he had a 3rd, so he wasn't actually in that battle, was he?
Well, he was shown in the points table.
Okay, is that 3rd correct?
No, hold on, he wasn't shown in the points table.
Right, so he wasn't involved anyway. So it was just equal then between Spicer and McGill. They both had a 5th, but I think Spicer had 2.
Okay, so it might be unofficially Colin Spicer that wins the Sporting Cup this year.
Very unofficially, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, so Carl Austin not actually included in those because he did have that 3rd place at...
First round at Silverstone.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? That was where we had a number of drivers that were had sort of ride height infringements, wasn't it? And a few exclusions. So that's it, an inauspicious way to end the Rymax Lubricants Sports 1000 Championship, really.
These last rounds aren't going well, are they? Because Type R Trophy was last round ended in a safety car a few weeks ago. Club Enduro ended in a red flag. Sports 1000 has now ended in a red flag.
Don't tempt fate, Josh. We're not going to carry on this trend.
It's so unusual, though, isn't it? Which is the thing. And pretty much no other races have had stoppages or even safety cars, and then the last round of the championships have not ended in the way that it was hoped.
No, well, hopefully Rich Miles' car can be recovered fairly quickly so we can get onto our next race fairly soon. The Oulton Park recovery vehicle already on scene. It didn't hit anything, so there's no tyre walls to rebuild. As far as we can see, it didn't drop any fluid. There's no fluid to dress, so it should be fairly straightforward, and we can get the cars out for the next race of the day shortly, which is going to be for the Toyo Tyres Toyota MR2 Championship, race 7 on the programme. And we will hopefully head down to Parc Ferme in just a moment, and that will give us the opportunity to hear from the leading contenders from the Rymax Lubricants Sports 1000 race that we have that we've just seen. But for the moment, the marshals and all of the other officials are doing the recovery work. But let's head down to Parc Ferme now, and once again to John Ratcliffe.
Well, that was certainly an interesting end to our Sports 1000 race with a little crash, and then with only about 7 minutes to go, they called it for the race. But I've already got Ryan Yarrow here to chat with me. That one went a little bit more to plan than the first race, didn't it?
Yeah, I actually got off the line. It still wasn't great, but I think Richard had similar problems, so I actually bogged it this time, and then I had to dip it and get it going. And then I was just super tentative around all that back section where all the oil and dust is for, to be honest, the whole race, because I just thought it could spit me off really quickly. At least if I'm leading, I can just hold people up. It's a shame how the race has ended, but I think Richard's all right. So, but yeah, this is my local track. I didn't, the first race was fun for a lot of reasons, but I wanted to come away with a win on my doorstep. So yeah, I'm happy from that point of view.
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations on your home win. And yeah, I was going to say, we were watching you defending for a lot of that race. It must have been quite a bit of pressure from behind.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of used to it. I mean, it's one of them things, and you start to see where you're fast and where you're not. So even if they catch you up at a certain point every lap, you can then drag it back out, and then it just keeps happening. And yeah, I think I was being a lot more tentative around where all the dust was and that, but I thought, well, it's kind of mine to lose, so yeah, and I don't want to go into winter with a car to repair. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think you made the right decision. I definitely saw a couple of people bin it off down there, so well done, mate. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Cheers, thank you. Then we got P2 to speak to. Michael, is it? Hello. Yes, Michael. Well done, sir. Congratulations on the P2.
Yeah, thanks. First of all, big shout out to Ryan. He's been a great driver all year. So hats off to him for like dominating, really, I would say, the championship. I'm going to try and do a better job next year. And but yeah, the race was it was exciting. Yeah, the car was just starting to get there, and like we'd set it up to come on a bit later, and yeah, but you know, at least Rich is okay. And
Yeah, exactly. Did you see exactly what happened? Because you were just behind him, weren't you, when the
Yeah.
crash happened? Did you see what happened?
yeah, I think he got a bit sideways going into the double right, and then it shot him out a bit wide, and by that time he's on the grass, and then it kind of just ended up catching him, and then yeah, he kind of just pirouetted. And then I had to make a decision, like, do I slow down because he was coming back onto the track, or did I have enough time to kind of just keep it buried? And I kept it buried, but I don't think he came out to the track too much anyway. But yeah, we were all pushing. I mean, it looked like we were quicker than Ryan, but I think Ryan didn't have anything to aim at. You know, we had him to try and chase, and you know, it's a lot easier to catch and follow than it is to lead. So. But I'm gutted because it would have been a really exciting race, and like Victor was obviously there getting into the fold as well. So yeah, it could have been a really good final race. So a bit disappointing from that perspective, but at least I've come away with the car in one piece.
Exactly.
And yeah, the budget can go on to maintaining it for next year.
Exactly, yeah. From what we did see, it was a fantastic race, and yeah, congratulations on the P2, mate. Thank you for speaking with us. And then our third place man. Hello, sir, Victor. Fantastic race from you there, and managing to just about grab a podium at the end there. How was that for you?
It was great. It's a great feeling to end up on a high after such a bad weekend, so I'm really pleased with that, really pleased with that. I want to thank Sharon Meetel for everything she does for the team as well, and yeah, it was cracking. I wish the race was longer, just like you said, so we had that last battle, but no, I'll take it. Missing the fastest lap for 200s as well, which kind of makes me sad, but it was great. It was great.
That's what it is. Was there anything, because we can't lie, we were focusing on the front three for quite a bit of that. Was there any particular moments in the race that stood out for you?
I would say at the time we had a battle with Dan Larner, the last corner, so I went on the outside, cut back. It was really fun. Obviously, every single overtake is always fun to do. But yeah, no, cracking race. You should watch it. You should watch my onboard, though, for real.
Send it to me, mate. I'll definitely take a look. Definitely. Cheers for chatting with us. Cheers, buddy. Again, fantastic race in Sports 1000. As they all said, a bit gutting that it had to end how it did, but it is what it is, and that's racing. We're going to move on to, I believe, coming up next, the Toyota Tires Toyota MR2 Championship.